committee will come to order, please. We are continuing today our inquiry into organized crime's influence into sports. In particular, we are inquiring into underworld influence in racing in the state of New Jersey. In this regard, our first witness today will be Mr. Sammy Davis, Jr. Mr. Stand, please. Will you hold up your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give to the House Select Committee on Crime will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Have a seat, please. Mr. Counsel, will you?
He introduced himself to you, or was introduced to you, by a name other than Corky Pistola.
No, it was Tommy Pistola, and I call him Tommy, or TV.
Mm-hmm. Tommy. And TV, but the Tommy is his first name, and V for his Vastola. Is that correct?
Yeah, I imagine so.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you understand at any time, from time to time, when you did meet him, what his occupation was?
But in the nightclub world that I live in, my paths cross with many people, and those people who show a generosity or will show up with a big party, you become friendly with on that kind of terms. After I recently married, which I've been married 2 years now, to my present wife, on 2 occasions, I know that Tommy has taken my wife with his wife out to dinner. And on that level is where my relationship has remained with him.
And from time to time, did you have occasion to golf with Mr. Vastola?
I didn't hear you, sir.
From time to time, did you have occasion to golf? The fellow put to you. His name was Mrs. Siegel, I take it.
Yes.
And he's the man that Mr. Vastola said would be contacting you in relation to this deal. Is that correct?
Right.
Now, could you tell us essentially what type of deal was offered?
It was a deal for a farm to be used to breed horses. They were going to buy horses, some horses in Europe, bring them back to the farm, which would be called Sammy Davis Jr. Farms. For the use of my name and my association, I was to get so much preferred stock for a small number of dollars and so forth. And that was my participation. In other words, he wanted to use my name. He thought it would be good, and I was terribly aware of the fact that it might open up some jobs for people. That's all I know, And I said, hey, I don't know anything about it, but I'll try,
Mm-hmm. And essentially the objective of this enterprise was to own a breeding farm for trotting horses or race horses?
Trotting horses.
Trotting horses. And in addition to breeding horses and maintaining them, were you also going to race horses?
I think so. I think that was mentioned. I'm not sure. I think it was.
And did there come a time when you were photographed in relation to this material? You said
Yes.
that you actually was making purchases in your name. Is that correct? And issuing
Yes.
checks with your name on them. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you tell us briefly what you learned about that?
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I know.
Have a seat, please.
Norman M. Berger. I am a member of the Bar of Pennsylvania and a practicing attorney in Philadelphia.
I'm sure the committee would like to.
This was
This will serve to advise you that litigation will be filed by Tattersalls against Sammy Davis Jr. Farms Incorporated and Stuart Siegel for the recovery of the $8,800. We intend to notify, as is customary in such cases, we do not know directly what interest Mr. Davis may or may not have in Sammy Davis Jr. Farms Incorporated. But even if he owns no...
Absolutely.
On behalf of Mr. Davis, allegedly.
that is the only official notification I received from any creditors.
And Siegel has just disappeared, is that?
Tommy is around. I saw him 4 weeks ago.
Has he disclaimed any knowledge as to the whereabouts of Mr. Siegel also, or didn't you discuss
Oh,
it?
yes. Yeah. Tommy said, I haven't seen him either, because I naturally asked him when I saw him. I said, where is this man? And he said, I don't know where he is. I haven't seen him, sir.
Fine. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions regarding your witness. Committee has done great work in trying to bring this attention to the country, and I'd like for the public to know how hard Mr. Davis has worked and I was in his company in Florida with the former chief counsel of this committee, Mr. Perito, and Mr. Perito has informed me that Mr. Davis has done
A lot of people trying to make a contact with you one way or the other, either sending bottles of champagne or flowers to your wife or whatever their entree might be. And was this the only way that you became acquainted with Tommy, was through that method? Or did someone introduce you? Excuse me.
No, Mr. Wen, I must explain the kind of life that a nightclub performer leads. You meet a lot of people. Some you put what I refer to as a nightclub attachment to, people that you see in Florida, people you see in Las Vegas. This is the kind of relationship that I've had with Tommy and many other Tommies and many other people in and out of the show business. I have no business dealings with Mr. Vistola at all. And that is the only way I met him. No one ever introduced me to him at all. He just suddenly, we were in a nightclub with a group of people and turned around and said, "Hey, Sam, blah, blah, blah." And that's the way most of those relationships start. Sir.
You referred to the agreement that you made with him on the farm, and that you said while the papers were being drawn up. What?
No, sir.
Oh, you made the arrangement with Mr. Siegel, not
Yes,
with...
sir.
Oh, all right, I'm sorry. Well, then, Mr. Berger, were there actually agent agreements and such being drawn?
Reporting this episode, which you might well have not disclosed for public view. And I think you set a good example of other distinguished Americans who are esteemed by their fellow citizens, appreciated, that they would serve the cause of law enforcement and a better country if they too would disclose incidents like this where sinister figures attempt to get their hands upon them or to use their good reputations for their own evil purposes. And I hope that many others who must have had, will have similar experiences will follow your commendable example. We are trying to find out whether or not organized crime is infiltrating the sports area of this country. Sports mean a lot to the American people. Yes. But they want to feel when they go to see a sporting event that it's an honest sporting event, that it's not fixed, that sinister hands are not guiding it or directing it, and that it's wholesome, because that's the spirit of sport. It's wholesome, honorable competition. I'm watching your time, and we're not going to detain you very much more, but I do want to join in the commendation of my colleague, Mr. Murphy, for what you've done in the field of drug addiction, because that's been one of the primary concerns of this committee.
Yes.
The deplorable prevalence of some 400,000 young people in this country, most of them young people, are already being heroin addicts. I was informed by Mr. Perita about your visits in Florida. I think you went up to the Seed at
sir.
Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, I did.
Were you impressed with what they were doing there with those young people?
I must say, sir, that I was terribly impressed, based upon the fact that so much help is needed. And on a federal level, what men like yourself and the members of this committee are doing in trying to stop this flow is so important. But it's also equally important that people in local communities care about what happens in their community. And I think the Seed, as well as many other organizations that I've visited throughout this country, are doing that, because there is such a need for young people who get hung up in this hell to know that there's understanding and there's someone that they can go to. The Seed supplies that. There's a moral atmosphere with organizations of this kind. There are 100 throughout this country. I wish there wasn't a need for them, but since there is a desperate need for organizations like the Seed, like Synanon, and so many others, I am happy to give whatever time I can, whatever talents God may have given me, to try to direct, to try to stop it. But I can do no more than my next-door neighbor can do or the person that lives across the street from you, sir, based upon the fact that we all must be committed to it?
Well, men of your great ability who are appreciated by the young people can have a large influence upon them. I know when we had a hearing in San Francisco in late 1969, Mr. Ark Linkletter appeared before our committee, and he was pointing out that he said old people like me or older people are not going to have very much impact upon these young people in dissuading them from drug addiction. But if we can get some of the young popular singers, the young popular rock and roll people, the performers that they like and they follow, they can really move them. They can do good for them. And you are one of those men who can have a valuable impact upon the youth of this country.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Mr. Davis, and I want to thank...
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
May I ask, we've just had a little discussion here, and there seems to be on the whether Mr. Davis has actually been out any money in any of these transactions that we've discussed this morning.
No, except for legal fees.
I don't believe he can chalk that off to advertising or publicity.
I think we lawyers call those honorariums, Mr. Davis.
No, I'm not actually out any money, sir. I'm what I am, and if I may just add this postscript to what you gentlemen have said, I am oftentimes those of us who are in the spotlight. The door is sometimes a little too widely opened, based upon the fact that, God forbid, we should offend someone. You try to keep it straight. I know I've worked 40 years to get where I am. I certainly don't want to, we say it on the corner, I don't want to go on a Hummer, you know, man. I just don't want to go that way. And I guarantee you that because of today, I think a lot of people will start closing that door to friendship a little closer, because it has no right to be, you know.
I would imagine that people in your business would have to, are going to have to use legal counsel and other methods to double check some of these hangers-on or whatever you might want to call them. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Davis. Captain William Baum.